Hello, everybody. Welcome to the final AMA of 2022. It's been a very productive year. We've got a lot of progress under our belts. If you think back to where the project was this time last year, we were still a very nascent and unproven initiative with not as much community and not as much momentum behind us. And thanks to all the work and diligence of the staff, our partners, and absolutely as well our community, we have really come on leaps and bounds, and we're quite pleased about where we are now. There have been things in the meantime that we couldn't have foreseen, that nobody foresaw in terms of market conditions, everything from geopolitics to everything else. And for a project that launched possibly at the least opportune time in terms of those developments, we've done remarkably well, and we've been fortunate in that regard. So that's worth reflecting on. But for today, we're going to focus on more practical and productive concerns. I'm going to hand you over to Herman now in 2 minutes. He's going to give a brief update with regards to the state of play in the core development effort. And then I'm going to chat to you guys a bit about what's going on in terms of some of the business releases and things that we're working on at the moment. There's some exciting things there. Then we're going to have a quick discussion with Marv as to Cherish, which the launch of which is, as you guys know, forthcoming very soon. Diego unfortunately can't join us today because he's on a flight or he's traveling at the moment. So I'm going to give the Seedling update, some cool things happening at Seedling. Then we're going to wrap it up with the quiz. I just want to, before I hand you over to Herman, briefly give an update with regards to there was a couple of things. What was it? Oh yeah, first and foremost, the bumper quiz winners from last week. I have announced all the winners. Some of you, or all of you actually, haven't been given prizes yet because we have a bumper slate of prizes, which you can choose from whether you want merch or you want cash prize or whatever. And we need all of these people to respond first before we can and then the winners to make their choices before we go down the list. So that's why we've been a bit delayed with clarifying that. But I think that within the next couple of days, people will have made their choices and stuff. So everybody who has won, who I tagged in our Telegram chat, should be able to kind of get clarification as to which prizes they won in the next couple of days, I hope. If it hasn't happened in the next couple of days, then we're going to just assign people default prizes. So without further ado, I'll hand you over to Herman now, and he's going to proceed with the core update. Are you there, Herman?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever it is. We take a sip of water. Okay, pretty busy day today. I'm in a busy room with some noisy music in the background. I do apologize if that disrupts anything. It hopefully will not. Anyway, I'll try to keep this time brief. We have, the usual platitudes. Congratulations, everyone. It's been fantastic, great year. Cherry's now 1 year old officially since its launch. Since the foundation, it's now more than 2. Essentially, what we want to reiterate is everything that I posted in a message from a few days ago, thanking the whole community and the team especially. And I shout out some of the people who contributed most, but of course I missed many. Lewis, there's many I missed. I slapped my forehead and I said, I wish I mentioned them. But regardless, we'll try and make all this into a long-form blog so that I don't have to spend 20 minutes enumerating all the various accomplishments we've had over the past year, sort of in a self-congratulatory way that achieves nothing, really. Instead, today I want to give you an update about a very specific issue that happened with the mainnet. Nothing serious. People have been complaining, my staking rewards haven't received them. Essentially, there's an issue with the trade.place blockchain interface in particular. two pages, the payouts pages, and pages related to Treasury. Of course, Treasury is not active yet, so don't care about the second one. The first, yes, people have reported they're not receiving staking rewards, not participating as they would have before. They don't have the statistics, et cetera, all this is a known issue. It's not an issue with how the blockchain works. It's not an issue that you're not receiving staking rewards. It's simply the fact that the payouts page is incompatible since the trade-up place update associated with the upgrade we made to the mainnet hasn't been pushed out in time. So we hoped to get it done on last Friday, but then people went on holiday. Monday was again holiday. It's now sort of getting rushed back into and trying to get other things going. But basically, by this time next week, everything should be solved fairly with pretty good confidence. So that said, I've been asked to highlight not just Cherry core achievements. We'll have plenty of opportunity to do that, and blog. I said we'll try to do that. We'll maybe do a more complete overview about what we've done, maybe step by step in another AMA. We can do that if there's interest. I think it's good to record, again, for the sake of transparency, all these great things that we spoke about in the past that make projects truly great, especially in times where money doesn't fall off the sky as it has before. It's much more competitive, and also, I mean, that's for one, but also much more plainly to keep everyone here engaged and involved. And harnessing really this love and shared interest we have for this Cherry vision, we call it. We'll do that some other time, but this time around, we'll highlight some of the ecosystem growth. Again, it's a bit reductive. We plan to have much more. We for one reason or another had to resize these aspirations. Again, market circumstances. There's nothing really to say much about that. Everyone is affected. We've shared some sort of interpretations, some insights, some indication about how we thought about that. FTX, Alameda, before that, Luna, and all the various things that happened since Luna and so forth. It's a bit boring to state once again. It's also pretty much out of scope as far as the actions of Cherry. We work regardless. The sky can be falling, and we'll be on our laptops and desktops working and coding at the Cherry blockchain. So it's not perfectly relevant. But yes, in the context of ecosystem growth, of course, it does have its effects, and they were felt both by us and like in our ability to recruit interesting teams, incentivize teams, and fund them either with technical capacity or outright money. Of course, in a period of, let's say, high interest rates, but also other things, money becomes more expensive, and we must be more selective of how we deploy resources. And secondly, irrespective of any decisions, even from our end, so as a cause of market conditions, these teams are smart. We try and have some level of selectivity at the start, and so the people aren't perhaps as vision driven as people in Cherry, and really just want the best strategically and down to every step of deployment. So tactically, the best circumstances and everything that will allow their project to succeed. And while the vast majority of these projects that I'm telling you about are still very much committed to completing their project and making it happen. And most of these ideas are revolutionary, frankly. The issue is that they've selected to delay at times, to resize their aspirations, to do softer releases, or simply postpone them indefinitely. There's a pretty rich mix. Personally, I've been very disappointed with Unigate, not so much for the team, which ultimately you must agree with that market conditions aren't great, especially for that business model. A payment gateway, of course, it's great to launch where merchants want to accept Bitcoin, but now people are trying to get out of crypto. And retail certainly less interested in, and especially less interested in spending their crypto. Let's say there's the shift more to value and investment. Crypto's investment rather than crypto as transactions. And so for these reasons, just in relation to market size, Unigate, the Unigate team that's very professionally run against, it's done in association between Cherry Labs and a bank, so quite institutional, quite smart people. They've elected to just postpone it. They have these few clients currently engaged in operating their aspects of their merchant operations, if not all of their merchant operations for crypto through Unigate. And these are 5, maybe to date, 6. This is what we've called the beta users, beta merchants set. It was disclosed before, so it's not that I'm disclosing anything that I shouldn't have. And they said, well, why spend reputation? Because frankly, it's a great expensive reputation. Let's say if you launch something and then it flops simply because of the lack of market fit, and then you can't relaunch it again, or if you try to relaunch it, it has less impact than it had before. Money, of course, why spend any more money? And any additional resources of these sorts when we know for a fact that there is decreased appetite for this sort of project. So that's the mindset of Unigate. This mindset, they've been very transparent to us as Cherry Labs, their partners, to me, and I've been transparently relaying them this over to you. Again, for this same trend of reasons, I've invited them multiple times to join these AMAs. They declined. We'll try and sort that out. Again, not just lack of market fits, especially in releasing the product, but also a question of who are we dealing with? These people are specifically for Unigate, not as risk prone, so not as, let's say, confident as we are, though terrible at public speaking, not super coherent. I say I'm going to be brief and then I go on and on and on for now 15 minutes. But they want to be in a more controlled environment. So that's another reason why perhaps AMAs aren't as amenable to them. Anyway, so all these reasons to say that still there's great interest for us. We're very proactive in seeking out a new ecosystem project and cherishing and doubling down on the ones that's already there. Seedling's doing great. Cherish is doing fantastic. I just had a call this morning with one of the lead developers. I spent 2 hours with him. It's fabulous, especially now in a context where social networks there is perhaps a gap in the market. So Cherish could try and fit it. We've spent 3 weeks and I've been personally involved in another ecosystem project that I cannot disclose, unfortunately, at this time. That's loosely associated with Cherish. Again, to complement with different sort of technology, different, let's say, sales targets, a similar market. The social network market, the creator monetization, creator ownership, and data ownership and data distribution thanks to Cherry. So in short, there's these few flagship projects that we consider very high value. Seedling and Cherish are basically done. Seedling has been doing great for now over a year. Cherish is pretty much done. And I think that within a month or two, well, by the end of the week, or next week, we'll probably begin a functional testing. So all the more hairy bits will be done. We'll pass on to more dynamic testing, which may involve some of you guys. We'll try and see that out. But again, it's not quite there yet. We'll still have a few things to perfect, though it is not just functional. It's very, very pretty. Like on par with, let's say, Twitter, etc. Unigate, similar circumstances, product's complete. It has active users, and we've been iterating on it as a team. But due to market circumstances, these are sort of the ones that received our greatest investments. We, of course, have others that I've mentioned throughout the year. Bunker has been an early on investment in ours. That is an interesting project. It continues to be a time sink for me personally. We have a small team to get dedicated to that. I don't want to go on and on, but I just want to give you a sense that each of these things has been, though we weren't necessarily public about this, there's a story to each. Unigate does summarize in broad terms various considerations that directed each of these individuals, teams, individual projects, decisions, let's say not to launch or to postpone, etc. But there are stories specific to all. And some were positive, some were more negative. For example, the Original Factory is a more recent project. It's a very interesting product. I struggle to explain it now because, again, it would take me another 20 minutes that we frankly don't have. I'll just invite you to refer back to maybe an AMA we had with Lewis, one of their project manager of theirs, there about 2 months ago. And you can listen what he had to say in my introduction to that project then. But overall, it's very exciting, very interesting. It's art related. They use Cherry as a platform to store their art and to distribute it anonymously and sort of in this authorized way with monetization. It's very cool. It does have some commercial aspects to it. So, it's sustainable. They're not blockchain based. They require ICOs, IDOs, whatever, to make money. They can make money commercially. But they've given this change in business environments, not outright lack of market fit like Unigate, who are developing a product that's really dependent on the demand for crypto merchants or crypto payments, which is a subset of crypto. Theirs, which is art, which is culture, is much more flexible as the market in general. Of course, the sales mechanism varies. They originally tried to do, or were setting up to be more blockchain-oriented, more distributed social network, all that stuff. Given the decreased demand for this, let's say, approach of marketing, they're going ahead with a different one. But that, while I've been generally saying that there are, I'm giving you a few examples, there's really tens and tens that more or less say a similar story. There are a few that excel. And Original Factory excelled in a way that it did effectively pivot, and though it elected to have a scaled back launch, we generally try and launch things in a bit more effective and larger way. They're going to do what's called a soft launch, where they just put their product out and have people consume it. Original Factory has performed the soft launch already, and the only reason why we haven't shared it with you guys is simply that they have a great website, but they don't have a Twitter and Instagram. It's really that stupid. So, though there are these hiccups, let's say in the market, let's say individual commitments of various team members in each of these projects, overall, the tendency is towards growth and is towards abiding by commitments. Mostly not just to be truthful and honest, because sure, in a business environment that does as a value, but it is always weighed against effective value that can be extracted by conducting the business. And so it's not really just that. It's genuine interest in industry and in basing these products that can be sold so that are still seen as commercially viable. Cherish in particular is one of my favorite because it clearly states that things that are built with an idealistic background, idealistic purpose, which is again to preserve artist privacy, artist ownership, give the basis for deeper and more profound interactions between artists and those who cherish them, can also have very real commercial implications. This means people can make actual money of it and not just feel good by having elevated this ideal. So this is a shared feeling we have across, and while the story is different, as I said again, there is a market growth in, I'll say more broadly in crypto, as I shared in the message a few days ago. We still see that there's this constant growth that's very methodic and that's mostly value driven, again, because there's no room for fat. What hype could have produced an amount of money a year ago, it simply doesn't fly anymore. So what growth is left, and there's still plenty, is really valuable by my book in general, and even more specifically in Cherry, since we do make these valuations all the time. Well, is this value driven? Is this hype? And how to respond to that, since again, while we are commercially minded, etc., at least those who lead this effort, me especially, that I've now spent 30 minutes talking more or less about nothing and sharing no real information, just sort of ideas behind this, mostly because I don't think that content is really so essential. Like I told you about Unigates and Seedling and Cherish and Bunker and Original Factory, and now I can mention Memento, and there's this one called Groundstead that I mentioned maybe 4 months ago, and there's a bunch of others. There's one really cool team that working with AI. All these things, it's great to hear about them, and it's great to know that these still exist, and I still have them on my mind, and we're still investing on them, and all this is true. But more than that, I think the reason why these AMAs matter and how community can truly be engaged is by communicating in a deeper sense in terms of commitment, in terms of the ideals that power all this. And all this to say that the ideals ring just as true now as they did back when we raised however many millions of dollars a year ago, and our commitment to them has not waned. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Herman. If you have a moment, I'll just cover a couple of the questions that were posed over the last few days. I think there's a few more that you've already addressed in terms of some of the development issues and some of the ecosystem questions. One interesting double-barrel question that I received a couple of days ago was someone asking, it's a bit of a cheeky question, but it's, of all the ecosystem projects and partnerships that we have currently under development, or indeed on the horizon, which one, and it's fine if you can't name, obviously you can't name most of them, but is there anyone that you'd be able to describe that would have the biggest impact on on Cherry's growth or Cherry's price? And second of all, which of the projects do you think make the most use of the core USP that Cherry and the Cherry stack offers? So which kind of project are most promising and which ones are most fitted to Cherry, I suppose the question was.
The problem with, I've prepared somewhat for this AMA, and I now have all of these different projects spinning in my mind. So as soon as you asked these two questions, I immediately had like 50 answers ready. I'm going to give you a few examples, maybe answering the second question first. There's different categories by which you approach ecosystem projects. Things like Bunker make products that are generally available to developers developing on Cherry Network available to retail. And we consider this tooling, basically, or we don't have the best terms, but it's products that generally convert or add a user-friendly interface to existing products of Cherry Network or existing feature of Cherry Networks. And so as products, they're wholly Cherry Network technology, but for this added sort of interface superficial aspect to it. So that's one category. And Bunker does fall very neatly into that. As far as pervasive use, Cherry really excels in two things. Our USP, our most foundational value that again is unique still 2 years in, is the ability to store data trustlessly, such that smart contracts can interact with it. Again, doing CRUD, so create, read, update, and delete operations in an authorized manner on chain, and that's a great USP. It's most radically used by Cherish for reasons that you can all intend. Authorization is a pretty difficult problem for social networks. I'm guessing that's where most of the computation and backend goes. Does user have access to this post? And if they do, to what extent? Do they have access to like a censored version of the post or a preview of that post or the full version of the post? And if they do, what is nested, what media is nested within the post, and what other dependencies are of the post? Or let's say a like field. Would user have access to all to the like count associated to the post, or to a list of all the people who effectively made the like? And if they do that, they have access to the further relationship of not just the users who made the like, but also of the user accounts and description of those. Of each user that liked that post. So these are all questions about authorization. Now, we of course solve a minute part of that. Most of the Cherish solution is in-house and it's very sophisticated, but we do solve very effectively authorization on the media side. So when the backend, the Cherish backend, or when you interact with the Cherish website and you query a post, a query goes to the Cherry Network system, and it says, well, this is the media and this is how you can fetch it, or not, or it can say no access denied. That's one, let's say, the most obvious way of using the main USP of Cherry that I can say very easily without introducing a whole new other set of projects that would make this answer way too long. That's the first answer. I'm sorry. That's the first half of the answer. The other half of the answer is that well, Cherry's USP is data storage. We do excel in other things. In particular, we did early on state our commitment to interoperability, and now more recently to compatibility across different networks. And this allows bridges, routing systems to be built on Cherry too, and that's essentially what Unigate is. Unigate is a very complex routing system. It benefits from Cherry in two ways. One, by using its interoperability systems, not in a way that it's worth describing as a USP proper, because it is shared, and interoperability, by design, is putting together different systems developed independently between by other projects. So it's not something that we have special ownership over this niche. It's rather just putting together what the great developers at Ethereum have built, what the great developers at Solana built, what the great developer at Polygon has built, and just stitching all that together. And the other part of Unigate's great value is not just having bridging down, but also associating to bridge transaction also invoices. And the invoices generally are the trusted aspect to payment processors of crypto, because of course you can maybe have a system to receive payments, but then how do you keep track of what payment was received for what sale? That's a very difficult question to answer. And so you generally have these complex systems where you have one address per merchant, or one address per invoice per merchant. That adds a whole lot of complexity, and it's generally not, it just drives the merchant away from the invoicing system. What Unigate does, and it is in addition to have very good bridging, very good routing, it's more properly called, it has, the system essentially works by users creating invoices, and these invoices are recorded in the data storage system of Cherry. Okay, so that's a very complex answer, I'm sorry. But again, to explain that there's really a lot of work, a lot of very smart people working on these problems, and these are very real solutions. So for Unigate in particular, it's a shame that I can't show this to you. I mean, I maybe can. I'll brainstorm this, because it's been now working for 8 months, and I don't see really a reason to shelf it. It's a great product. It's not just one of my things. We make good software generally, but there's this sort of trend in my teams and the teams I've led in the past, is that while we do make great software that works functionally, it works flawlessly, it often lacks in aesthetics. Unigate is an aberration. Unigate is not just very functional, it's beautiful. So just for that, I think it's worth sharing and showing you guys. So that's the second answer. I think the more substantial answer, the answer you guys expected me to answer. The question you expected me to answer. So the first question, what project will change the value of Cherry? Who's to say? I did mention none of the ones mentioned so far are, earth-shattering. They're great products, but they have to be developed, and they fit within a commercial ecosystem that's competitive. And of course, social networks, there's many of those. Payment merchants, there's many of those. Though you can do things that are better, they still need to cash on, and you still need to market, and you still need to sell it, and you need to improve it. And it's all sort of a cost benefits matrix. Of the things that I haven't mentioned as things that are owned by Cherry, basically that would fall within the Cherry brand yet. So we can't really claim it as ours yet. I've mentioned in the past that we have been in talks with 2 big brands. The second one is also, the first one was maybe a pie in the sky idea, but we were very excited, and it sort of waned down, and that was early in the year. More recently now, we're talking with a great potential counterparts. I'm going to start stuttering now because I can't say as much. They are a very large player in their industry. They hold billions of dollars in assets. They deploy it in a way that's very synergistic to aspects of Cherry. And we have been exploring this for the past few months. I have a direct connection with an employee. That's not just an employee, but a leader within the innovation area of this business. I'll wait till things crystallize more to give you a stronger response. But in short, if you want an answer, is usually a client of this magnitude. Let's say I start selling to Microsoft, and by the way, it's not Microsoft. This is why the analogy works. If I start selling to Microsoft instantly, I receive, let's say, a lot of value from this relationship, both within the relationship of having such a big counterparts and externally as far as cachet goes, because it allows me to then go and sell to, who knows, Amazon, IBM, etc. And so in short, as far as the greatest potential impact, this is the partnership. And we're not talking about peanuts. We're talking about things that, though, wouldn't be wholly captured by the cherry token price, because of course it's more of a service than it will be outright use of cherry network. Like as far as degrees, it would drive the most value by far, not just to cherry, but whoever blockchain project, and we are the prime candidates for them, by the way. This I can disclose. I've asked them, I've confirmed this. We are the main blockchain provider counterpart that they're evaluating now for this problem, and it's now just a matter of deciding whether the problem is worthwhile to invest in with the various solutions that we discussed. Any blockchain platform, any blockchain provider that they chose would instantly receive benefits that it's hard to quantify in token price and so forth. But in short, it's a lot. I'm very excited about that.
That's fantastic, Herman. Yeah, that's a very very meaty and thorough and fascinating answer. And I think it's something that we value as a team, the kind of insights that you give and that the other founders give us on a regular basis. And of course, the community appreciate these kind of things. I think that it wouldn't be much of an exaggeration to say that we do provide a level of transparency in terms of what we're actually working on in the pipeline, as much as almost any other project in Web3, I would say. And we generally do stick to our word in terms of what we release and what we have in the pipeline. And we're also, when it's not the best news and we don't hype things, if it's a partnership or if it's something we're working on that isn't going exactly as we had envisaged, then we are quite upfront with our community and honest in terms of what, if something's gone wrong or how it's gone wrong. And I think that that's the best way to, in the spirit of Web3, that's the best way to proceed. So that's something for us to be proud of as well. From my perspective, and just to bolster what Herman said, and this is something I discussed over the past couple of AMAs, we are now shifting the vista of where our communications are focused from the core development, which has gone excellently thanks to the extremely skilled work of our development team, more towards the business development of the ecosystem. This is something you'll see reflected, and you have seen reflected in our recent communications, including in this AMA, wherein Herman has spent 40 minutes going into detail about a tremendous amount of interesting initiatives that are being worked on. From my part, we are going to try and, well, we're not going to try, we're already working on this. I said that we would try and make a move on this before the end of the year. We're going to try and stick to our word and try and have a way for you guys to visualize and get an overview of all these things that are being worked on in a more concrete and digestible format, which I'm going to spend the next 48 hours on pretty intensively, trying to get this done before the new year. Now, it might be next week, but I hope not. And what that involves is the ecosystem tracker that Herman mentioned. It might be slightly rudimentary in its initial format, but it will still be illuminating and still be quite a good way for you to tangibly understand all the things that are being worked on. I have a big long list of ecosystem projects here in front of me, from the ones that you obviously know all about, like Cherry Seedling and Cherish, Unigate. We've mentioned Memento and Original Factory, Bunker. Spherelink is also an ecosystem project of sorts, as they are our partners. Spherelink will be doing things not just focused on Cherry in the near future. They've been in contact with us about some of their interesting plans, and they will be an important partner in the ecosystem, providing tools and providing expertise to ecosystem projects. I won't go into detail. I'm sure some of you can surmise and figure out what that relates to, but I'll wait a couple of weeks to describe that in more detail. Then there are things that we've mentioned before. So just to kind of give a slight roundup ahead of this ecosystem tracker that we are going to publish in the coming days. We'll have wallets for the Cherry chain, for the Cherry ecosystem. There's a very interesting app that uses DApp, that uses artificial intelligence to solve a very, very real social problem that's very in line with Web3 concerns. I'm pretty sure that Herman has discussed this and described what it does in some degree of detail before, but I'm not going to actually say what it is, just in case I've misremembered that. Maybe it was an internal conversation and I don't want to blow it, because this is very, very innovative, and the actual intellectual property of the use case of what they're fulfilling is very valuable in and of itself, regardless of any execution that they've done so far on that. So this is a real winner idea. Then there's things like the music functionality that'll be on Cherish in the future, the video sharing, all these things that are to come in the new year is very promising. There are also different industries that we have projects in our ecosystem working on, in the fashion industry, in let's say the ESG, kind of more specifically the environmental concerns industry as well. Again, I don't want to go into too much detail about some of these, but everything that goes into our ecosystem tracker, which will be published in a couple of days, it'll all be vetted by Herman, so I don't have to worry about adding anything to that is sensitive business information, which would be the last thing we want to do for the community, is to blow something up that we shouldn't be talking about. So we're going to just double check everything that we can disclose, add it to this it's going to be a page on the website, and you guys will be able to instead of just piecing together information about what's going on in the ecosystem from things mentioned in the AMA, we'll have something that is first and foremost a communicative tool in terms of rounding up and summarizing the things we've mentioned, but it will also provide an up-to-date account of what's going on in these projects. So it will, to some degree, act as a reporting tool for us to you and for these projects to us. Not in great detail, but in enough high-level detail to inform people strategically as to where things stand. Because it's all very well and good, us, hyping up the number of projects that are working. I have a big long list in front of me with dozens on it, which I can't disclose, as I mentioned, yet. But it's better not just to talk about, there's lots of projects building with Cherry technology. It's better to actually be able to give people a concrete overview of what they are. I'm very excited about that. We've talked about doing it for weeks now, and we've been too busy with other things, especially the core development team have been up to their eyes in these impressive engineering feats that they've been busy with, but it is something that we're going to get off the ground in the next few days. So aside from that, I have a couple of updates that I want to give. And then a couple of updates that I want to give Then I'll hand you over to Marv. He's going to give a quick 5-minute rundown of what's going on with Cherish. Then he's going to hand it back to me, and I will give Diego's update, because unfortunately he can't be here at the moment with us on the call. And then we're going to move to the quiz. So we'll have this wrapped up pretty soon, because it's been a very interesting discussion, but I know a lot of people have to, get back to work, or get back to eating more turkey, leftover turkey from the Christmas or whatever. So we'll try and keep it moving quickly. So bear with me now. I'm just going to try and find my notes. And I think I've just already described one of the items that I wanted to run over, which is the ecosystem tracker to be published. Aside from that, there are social media initiatives that we'll be putting together and ramping up in next week. That'll be more towards the end of next week. And then Herman mentioned a couple of ecosystem projects that are basically already launched, but haven't launched on social media yet, just because there's a couple of small things that need to be resolved before they do. Ideally, we'll have them either before New Year's or in the first couple of days of January. But again, it's a very small thing that's stopping us from launching them. And people have just been very busy, which is understandable, especially at this time of year. So that's everything from the business side as well. I'm going to now hand you over to Marvin. Marvin's going to give us a brief but interesting update on Cherish. And then, as I said, we'll jump into Seedling, and then we'll jump into the quiz. So do we have Marvin there on the line?
Yeah, you guys hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Hey guys, good to be back again. Herman already touched upon some of the interesting topics I wanted to talk about Cherish today. First and foremost, the thing everybody's most interested in, of course, is the development of our platform. I mentioned this last week, but it's always nice to have Herman in here amplifying my voice, saying that the platform is growing steadily. The testing continues, and we've already completed a large scheme, large part of our development roadmap that includes fee, commissions, and subscriptions. I think mostly part of the work that's being done is centered around the security and the transaction aspect, but that we are, and that aspect, our development teams are top-notch and pros, so that's moving very, very fast. So as Herman said, in the next month or two, some more final versions of Cherish will become available, but in the coming weeks, we're looking to start testing it a bit more broadly with some alpha and beta testers from our community and creators that have joined our movement. Then you can look forward to our next creator interview with Javito. He is a bit of a behind-the-scenes creator, but he's worked for some amazing projects like YouTube Rewind, and is very impactful in the Spanish digital media scene. So we have a very interesting interview. I caught up with him at the Web Summit and has become a close partner of us in the meantime. Then we are continuously working on our marketing plan, continuously updating it, so that we are ready for when the time comes to actually start pushing Cherish in a more grand way, and the impact that it will have, we will be prepared. And then this week, you guys can still look forward to Cherish update number 6. I think they'll be out either tomorrow or the day after, and if not, Monday, but I doubt that it'll be for Monday, where we'll discuss a bit more about the vision and mission of Cherish going into the next year. I think that should be all for Cherish for now. So keep your eyes peeled for more information coming your way.
Sorry about that, guys. My mute button was stuck. Thank you very much, Marv. I think that Cherish has been a bit of a slow burner over the past few weeks. But in the background, there's been tremendous work going on as well on the business side. So I'd like to thank Marvin and John every day. They've been hitting leads. They're a 2-man business development powerhouse for an unlaunched project that doesn't have much for creators to interact with. They've done a tremendous job on selling the marvelous potential of Cherish, and that has already paid dividends in terms of us being able to show what we have going on and attracting more people just by pure marketing juice, based on being able to point to these creators that are going to very creative and very artistic people who are going to be who have already put their name to their enthusiasm for Cherish. But then, of course, also this will basically help to seed an initial core user group who will be the first to use Cherish, and that's fantastic, because it will really get the platform off to a head start when the full launch takes off in a few weeks. So that's fantastic. Thank you very much, guys. I'm going to jump in now, and I'm going to try and do some justice to Diego's update. So bear with me now. Hang on there 1 second, guys. I have his notes here. Okay, here we are. Okay, so first and foremost, there's been something that myself, Diego, and a couple of other people have been working on, which is basically a way to position Seedling as to essentially set it aside as a more innovative and forward-looking launchpad in a very congested and very depressed market at the moment. And that is going to happen. We're going to launch all of these materials and new developments in the launchpad within the next 24 hours. I would say probably about 3 p.m. tomorrow, UTC. We have newsletters to go out. There'll be a big push on social media. There'll be other partners in social media who will assist us with this and help to get the word out about this. And then we have really cool stuff like videos and audio-visual stuff is going to be launched as well. So tomorrow's going to be a big day for Seedling. There's also, I'm not sure exactly if I can name these people, but I'm going to do it anyway just for the fun. We've been in discussions with the biggest launchpads or some of the biggest players in the launchpad space with regards to partnerships. They include DAOmaker and the likes, people on that level, and other community leaders like Bull Perks, etc. About how we can work with them or even excel in competition with the big leaders in this space. So that's quite promising as well. I'm not going to go into too much more detail because Diego is the best man for the job with regards to that, and I will defer to him to give you more details. I'll ask him to come into the Seedling chat and maybe give his own text summary, which I'll then repost into the Cherry group, so you guys can get more of the story from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And that's what's going on with Seedling. There are some good projects to be launched that are in the pipeline, which Diego and other people in Seedling have been working hard on. So everything's looking good on their end. And of course, given the discussion of ecosystem, which was the focus today, of course, the vast majority, if not all of these projects launching with Cherry technology, and indeed some of the partners that we're partnering with will launch to some degree on Seedling as well. So for all the seedlers out there, 2023 is looking like a year with a lot of potential as well. Okay, the AMA has now gone on for just under 1 hour. It was quite a substantial one, quite an optimistic one with regards to what's coming in the new year. I'd like to thank again Marvin and Herman for giving some really substantive updates, some real tangible and concrete developments and sharing them with us. And John as well, as always, for running the audio-visual and organizational side of the AMA seamlessly. Thank you again, John. I'm going to hand you over to John now, and he's going to finish out the year with the final AMA quiz. Very best of luck to everyone involved. And as I mentioned at the very start of the call, almost an hour ago, we will be in touch over the next couple of days with the Christmas winners, just to clarify what's going on with the prizes there. And we'll have that wrapped up in the next couple of days, as well as the winners from this quiz today. So I would like to wish you again a very happy Christmas. New Year's is coming up, so have a very happy New Year. And we will have our usual AMA. The first of 2023 will happen around this time next week, and I'll be able to chat to you then. And I'm sure I'll be discussing a lot of goings on with you guys in the group chats in between now and then. But Idir an dálinn, mar deartha as Gaeilge, Avlian fi Vashadív Galer. That means in between now and then. Happy New Year to everyone, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.